Here we'll discuss the horizontal and vertical line test. The first question we are asked is this picture a function? The function we are given here is x squared plus y squared equals 4, fairly different from anything we've seen previously. To determine if something is a function, we'll have to do the vertical line test. What we must ask ourselves is there any vertical line we can draw that crosses the function twice? If the answer to that question is yes, that means that this picture is not a function. However, if there is no vertical line that crosses twice and we would say no, then this would be a function. Let's try the vertical line test now. I'm going to now draw a vertical line in orange. We can see on this vertical line that we have two places where that line crosses the function. I've indicated those in orange now. So we would say yes to that question because there is a vertical line I've drawn that crosses twice. Therefore, this relation that I've graphed is not a function. Now, because this isn't a function, there is no need to answer the second question. Since we don't have a function here, we don't have to check if it's one-to-one. One-to-one only applies to functions. So all we have to say about this circle is that it's not a function. Here we have a relation that looks a bit more complicated. We have a bunch of decimals, and we have something that is fifth power. However, to check if it's a function, again we do the vertical line test and see if there's any vertical line we can draw that would cross twice. I'll start by drawing some vertical lines. You can see that all of the vertical lines I've drawn only cross once. Even through the steepest part of the graph, they only cross through one time. So there is nowhere on this graph where we could draw a vertical line that crosses twice. Therefore, since our answer is no, we can say this is a function. Now, anytime you have something that is a function, we'll check if it's one-to-one. To check if it's one-to-one, we'll do something called the horizontal line test. If the answer to that question is yes, that means it's not one-to-one. If the answer is no, then it is one-to-one. I'll erase the vertical lines and we'll look to the horizontal lines. Now drawing the horizontal lines, you can see there are some places on this graph where a horizontal line would only cross one time. However, if we look toward the center of the graph and we draw a horizontal line, say at y equals 0, you can see there are three intersections between that horizontal line and the graph, which I'm bolding in blue right now. Therefore, for that reason, we can say since there is a horizontal line that crosses multiple times, we can say that it is not one-to-one. Most of the graphs you see in this course will not be one-to-one, so don't be too surprised if you see very few of them. The ones that will tend to be any of the following: linear, also known as first power, rational, radical, and logarithmic. This won't be true all the time, and you'll always have to inspect the graph to make sure. In any case, this is how we handle the vertical and horizontal line tests. Now we'll do a more unusual case of the horizontal and vertical line test. Here we have something called a piecewise function, which is composed of two different lines, the red line and the blue line. When you're doing a piecewise function, we need to be careful about the dots on either side of each piece. Specifically, we need to check if they're open or closed. In a piecewise function, if you have two closed dots on the same x value, that means that you would fail the vertical line test at that position. Let's inspect that on this graph. If we're checking to see if it's a function, we'll start by doing the vertical line test and draw some vertical lines. You can see if we draw vertical lines through the red piece or the blue piece, that will only cross through once in the places I'm marking. However, let's look specifically at the place where x equals 4. If we draw a vertical line through, you can see we cross through the red and the blue at the closed dots, which I'm going to circle in orange. Since we're crossing through two closed dots at the same x value, we've effectively passed through the function twice. For that reason, at specifically x equals 4, we have failed the vertical line test. And if you failed the vertical line test anywhere, you failed it everywhere. Therefore, we will say this is not a function. Also, since this is not a function, we do not check if it's one-to-one. However, what if we modified the graph now to make one of those circles open? Now, let's run the vertical line test again to check if this is a function. If we draw a vertical line through the red piece, we only cross through once. If we draw the same vertical line through the blue piece, again we only cross through once. Now, let's check 4, like we did last time. We pass through an open circle and then a closed circle. Now, when we're doing the vertical line test, the open circle does not count as a crossing. However, we have passed through one closed circle, that's part of the blue line. The open circle from the red line does not count. Therefore, since we've only passed through one closed circle, we've only passed through the function once at x equals 4. Since we've effectively only passed through the function once everywhere, we will say, yes, this is a function because this passes the vertical line test. But now let's check to see if it's one-to-one. We'll clear the vertical lines and inspect the horizontal lines. Now I'll draw a blue line going horizontally. We can see that through the red line, if we draw a horizontal line, we only cross once. Through the blue line, if we draw a horizontal line, we only cross once. But now let's look at the place where we could have an intersection. Notice that at y equals -4, which I've circled, we have two closed dots. Both of them can be caught with the same horizontal line. That horizontal line is at y equals -4. And as with the vertical line test, if we fail the test anywhere, we've failed it everywhere. Therefore, this fails the horizontal line test, and this is not one-to-one. The moral of the story here is when you are trying to do horizontal or vertical line tests, be careful about open and closed dots, specifically with these piecewise functions.